Hello, y'all. How's it going? I'm just doing my pre-bed skincare routine and thought I'd kind of talk about something that it shows me in a bad light. Um, it shows me to be fucked up in my actions. I have, with 54 years, you do learn some wisdom. And there are things that are true no matter what. Cheaters never win, winners never cheat. You know, that's just a simple saying, and it's true. And another one that is true, maybe not 100% of the time, but it's true, is if they'll cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. And that really is a true statement for the most part. Another true statement is, a leopard can't change its spots. So what their normal everyday actions are, unless something drastic happens, they're not going to change. I grew up quite sheltered, as you all know. I had role models, but they weren't. I saw my dad stick with my mother, even after my mother made tons of mistakes and had issues. But I did not know how to be. I did not learn how to be a woman and how to be an honorable woman because that was not modeled for me. So growing up to be, I was spoiled, and of course I was daddy's girl. So I probably grew up thinking that if I wanted it, then I deserved it, and I should get it no matter what. Which is not the best kind of thinking. After I got married to my first husband, he was Navy and I worked, usually at least 1 to 2 jobs, and our money was equal, but when it came to big purchases, I didn't do anything without asking him and getting approval. And if it was something that I really wanted and he would say no, then I would tell him no in the bedroom. And until I got what I wanted, he didn't get what he wanted. And I've mentioned this before because I realized not long after that how wrong it was. And changed my actions in that way. But I also didn't know anything about commitment. When I got married, I was 18. My husband was 25, had a divorce, and had 2 children from that marriage. So, I was young in the prime, just starting life. He was older, so I could, our house was filled with whatever. And there came a point where he had put on weight after our motorcycle accident, and I was young, cute, with a nice body, and I wasn't happy where I was with him, so I had an affair. In the 4 years I was with him, I had several affairs. He knew about the one because I told him about it. I don't believe he knew about the others. After my infidelity, and me telling him about it, we still were working on things and trying to work on our marriage. We had come out here to visit one weekend after it had all been brought out into the open, and this is the only time my dad ever said anything that really hurt me. And when my husband and I told my parents that we were in marriage counseling because I had been unfaithful, my dad looked at me and said, well, like mother, like daughter. Because right after we moved up here, my dad firmly believed that my mom was unfaithful to him. And that's the only time something my dad said really hurt, because it did hurt. After my husband and I split, I know about 6 months, 6 to 9 months, I had met my youngest son's father. And after about 9 months of seeing each other, we moved in together. One of the things that I used to really love about Jonathan's dad was in the house I lived in, it was a good, quiet neighborhood, and me and him would go walking in the evenings. And, we would just start walking, but he would consciously take my arm, make sure I was on the inside of the sidewalk and he was on the outside closest to the road. And he did this every time. And I asked him why. He's like, well, it's the way I was taught, because if there's a vehicle coming and it goes out of control, then I'm between you and that vehicle to help protect you. And he was so sweet and so considerate. And then I broke my back and started having issues. had my son, had my surgery, all of that. And that's when things started going downhill with him. And because I wasn't happy at home, I sought happiness elsewhere and had affairs when I was with him. I dated, he and I were engaged but never married. But I did go and I dated several people. At one point, while I was with my youngest son's dad, I was dating another military man who was also married, but we were very close for a long time. And, I did not sleep around with 15, 20 people at a time. I was with my youngest son's dad, and I met this person, and he and I clicked, and I was with him. And it was the same way with my first husband. When I was with him and had an extramarital affair, it was with one person that was over a long period of time. So I'm not out, I've never been out just sleeping around with lots of people. It's always been one person. And when I get unhappy in a relationship, instead of being mature and saying, okay, I'm either going to fix this or leave it before I start another relationship, I would just, go ahead and start another relationship. And that relationship would also turn into a long-term, but it would not be a serious long-term. I'm not sure if my youngest son's dad knows at all that I was unfaithful. It's not something I've admitted to him. With both my first husband and with my youngest son's dad, I am regretful that I was immature and selfish enough not to care about the consequences. Be that as it may, after my youngest son's dad and I split up and I started dating my second husband, everything was great. We moved in together fairly quickly. We met in 97 and we're married in 98. So it was very, very quick. And then not long after we got married is when the abuse started. So, of course, once again, I'm unhappy. But at that point, I wasn't working. I had no income. So I had no way to go anywhere. And over time, he systematically beat me down. and made me feel like I wasn't worth anybody better, that nobody out there would love me like he did. I could never make it without him. Yeah, all those things that abusers do. But I did start an extramarital affair while I was with my second husband, and that was with one of our friends, and he of course was married as well, and I was good friends with his wife. But that didn't stop us from having a relationship. Even though it should have, it didn't. Luckily, my marriage to him was over by February of 2000. Now, after I split up with my youngest son's dad before I met my second husband, I'm sorry, between the middle of 96 and the middle of 97, I did date. And I dated a lot. But in that time frame, until I met my second husband, I was not exclusive with anybody. I was, I had my kids. I just wanted to enjoy life and have fun, and that's what I did. And then in 2000, after I left my second husband, I dated more and, did not want or even expect to get into any kind of long-term relationship, because this was my third failed one. And I sure as hell didn't want to go through it again. And then over the course of that year of 2000, I met my third husband online. We talked for a long time, and then we ended up finally meeting around Thanksgiving of that year. And we very quickly became exclusive, even though I lived out here and he lived at Virginia Beach area. We were exclusive, and for the first time in a relationship, I had no thoughts whatsoever of having another man in my life. I loved him with all my heart, and I really thought that he and I would be the couple that grew old together. We went through hell and back. We had tons of good times, but there were bad times. And in all of my failed relationships, I was at least 50% of the problem, and my actions were atrocious. I was self-centered and spoiled, and I thought, well, if I'm not happy, then I deserve to find happiness, even if I'm still in a relationship. And until I met my third husband, I did love my partners, my husband's, my youngest son's dad. I loved them, but it was never the intensity or depth of love that I had with my last husband, Tim. So even though I can, quote these sayings of, a leopard can't change its spots, or, if they'll cheat with you, they'll cheat on you, kind of things. When you learn how to realize your own mistakes and want to be that better person because of your partner, you can change. Because not once in my time with Tim did I cheat on him. It never crossed my mind, because even in the bad times, I was happy with him. He's a good man. And we had 19 years together. And in that 19 years, I was faithful. Looking back over my relationships, yes, I was abused in them in one way, shape, or form. But I was not innocent either. I was also abusive in different ways, because I didn't know how to be any other way. Instead of looking deeply at the issues that were causing my actions, that compelled me to act the way I was, I stuffed it down and did not acknowledge it. So it's no wonder my relationships failed, because I had no clue how to be a good wife. And I do firmly believe, if you do love someone, and I mean truly love them, you will not stray. You will not look at another man and want to be unfaithful to your spouse, because you don't want to hurt your spouse. And I never wanted to hurt him. I loved him more than I ever thought I could. Making the decision to divorce him was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. And it certainly was not easy to make it. But if you are serious about wanting to be a better person, then you can change. No matter how many times you've fucked up, you can change. And changing for yourself is one of the best reasons to change. And it also helps if you're changing your destructive ways because of love. For the longest time, Tim brought out the best in me. And I really hope I brought out the best in him. He was the one I loved so much that being faithful was not difficult at all. It was the easiest thing in the world because he was what I wanted and he was all I wanted. I really regret the things I did that contributed to my first 3 relationships failing. Yeah, they created issues, but then so did I. I was not blameless in any of it. And it is hard to admit that, you know, I was selfish and unfaithful in those 3 relationships. That's not something that's easy to admit to, but I can admit to it because I realized how wrong it was and how much I needed to change that part of me. And the fact of finding someone that I loved that much for so long that it never even crossed my mind. You know, that's what love really is. You know, we get what we give. And, you know, karma's a bitch. And karma will come around and get you when you least expect it. But if you are serious about being a better person, then you will change your actions. And I know for a fact if I ever get into another relationship, I will be that better person. You know, I only want to be with one person. So when and if that happens, then I've learned enough in my life to be that kind of person that I should be. To be trustworthy, to be honest, to be faithful. So even though we have sayings that everybody knows, you know, are quote unquote truths, there are always exceptions to that. And you can be the exception if you have the desire to be a better person and make the change. So it all depends on you and what you want. You know, for some people monogamy comes easy. For others it doesn't. And it certainly was not easy for me until I found that one love that did make it easy. The main thing I've learned throughout all of this is, you know, if you're not happy in your relationship, seeking happiness outside of that relationship while that relationship is still active is never a good thing, and it's never going to end well. You know, have the clarity, have the courage to work on that relationship and do your absolute best, but then if it does not work out, walk away before starting into another relationship. That is the main thing I've learned through all this. So I am done for the night. I thank you for watching. I have forgiven myself for my fuck ups, and I certainly hope y'all don't think any less of me because I fucked up so much and because I was that type of person. But I thank you for watching. Please don't judge me too harshly. I love y'all, and I hope y'all have a great night. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.